Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Louie.
And welcome to our podcast.
This is our official first episode of the podcast. If you haven't listened to the first one, which is our welcome intro, go ahead, listen to that, and then come back. We're going to talk about why we chose Portugal. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because if you guys didn't know, this was my husband's idea to move here.
It was? I guess it was, yeah.
Tell us why. Why did we choose Portugal?
Why did we choose Portugal? Well, we chose Portugal. Let's see. Let's go back to how this even became a seed planted, right? So Morgan and I were working together. We were working in the same department. We were data analysts together, and
for the federal government.
Yep. We were dating. I don't think we were engaged yet, were we?
We might have been engaged. I don't know if we were married, that's for sure.
We were not married yet, but so we worked in separate offices, and I worked with an older gentleman by the name of Gregory Bright, and he was a friend of mine. He still is a friend of mine, and he was working off to my side, and we were just doing our work, and he turns to me and he says, hey, you're Portuguese, aren't you? Southern boy. And I was like, I am. And he said, when you retire, you should move to Portugal. And so I kind of stopped in my tracks and I asked him, really? Why do you think? Greg then started to tell me that the weather here was good and it was one of the safest countries in the world, and
like all the reasons why everybody seems to be moving here, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we all want a better life for ourselves, for our loved ones.
Well, Louie came to me and he was like...
Yeah, so I went, I stuck with the idea, right? So, I go back to do my work, and then I go into the other office and I tell Morgan, I was like, hey Morgan, what if when we retire, because there's an age difference here if you haven't noticed, right? So what if when we retire, or when I retire, we move to Portugal?
Let's let them guess that. Everybody always asks us, I'm sorry to cut you off, what our age difference is. I'm gonna let you guys guess. If you think you know, put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out as well.
Yeah, shush. Okay, so anyways, back to the story. So you...
So I came to Morgan.
Yeah, for retirement.
And I said, Greg gave me an idea. He said that I should move to Portugal when I retire. I was like, what if we did that? And Morgan was like... What
was my reaction? Do you remember?
She was like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't we do that? And Morgan always had this little, dream of moving to Germany, to be honest.
No,
right?
It actually wasn't Germany. I just wanted to move to Europe. When I was young, I watched Mamma Mia, of course.
Right. Yeah.
And it made me want to move to Europe. I was obsessed with it. I thought in the future, when I'm an adult, I'll move to Europe, right? Obviously, you become an adult and you're like, yeah, that's not the most realistic thing. But working for the federal government, it gave me like so many options, and you could search like jobs all over the world. And so I remember one time I applied to a job. It was just an administrative job. It was just a 6-month, they had like 6-month could be permanent type of jobs. And so I applied to it, and I was so excited. I told my parents and everything because I was like, oh my gosh, I think I might actually get this, like I can go do this for a little bit and maybe figure out how to live there permanently. And, they were going to set up an interview with me and everything, but then something happened where they canceled it and just never reinstated the job. I guess they didn't need it. I don't know. So it didn't work out. Obviously it wasn't meant to be, because then a few years later we met and here we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Long story short.
So we started to look into, would we want to live the rest of our lives in Portugal? And slowly we started kind of looking it up and watching YouTube videos on it and listening to other people that moved to just other countries. Like I was following people that moved to, a completely different country, just curious as to see as to how he did it. And
at this point, we're just thinking retirement.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not thinking till like probably 20, 25 years from now.
Yeah.
And while discouraging, because it's very, very far away, and who's to say you even, right?
Yeah.
It still became
like a hope.
It still became a seed planted. So that way it was something. Was it unrealistic? Perhaps to some. But if it was something we really wanted, how could we figure this out and make that work, right?
Exactly.
I think that's a good way to put that.
I think so too. And then I don't know what happened, but at some point we were so miserable. You know, we're working for the man, and we were just like, I mean, I don't know if you remember.
We were over it.
I was down and out. I was the most depressed I've ever been.
Can I come in here? Right?
Yeah.
We were down and out. And not to rant about how, you know, the system is broken and the work was a mess, but you know, we were the lowest paid, okay, and in our department, and we were getting more work piled onto us. Typical story, right? Typical. More work piled onto us, while the guy who made more money, who was not trusted to do his work, that work would be given to us because she trusted us to do it. And you go in and you say, okay, this is fine, but it's going to have to come with some compensation. Like, I would like a raise. And when you're flat out turned down, it came a point in the job where we were done because we were not getting compensated the way we felt we should have been. So we came up with the idea of, why don't we, you know, give our notice and move back up north.
Yeah, we went.
Me back up north, because Morgan had never moved out of Virginia at all.
So this is my first time moving away from home. We had gone to visit Louie's parents in Fall River.
Numerous times.
No, but there was this one specific time we went to visit his parents in Fall River, and we were like, I don't know why, but at that time it just felt like a breath of fresh air for us, and we were like, okay, I think we need to move here. So we quit our job, we packed up everything, and we moved.
We sold our home.
Everything.
We sold a bunch of stuff just so we wouldn't, you know, bring a lot of stuff, and we U-hauled it, and we moved up north.
Yep, with his
and
parents.
We moved in with my parents.
His Portuguese parents. I'm sure you guys can figure out how easy that was.
We can make an episode just on that.
But I wanted to bring up something that we forgot. And I don't know if you remember this, but before we decided to move to Massachusetts, something we forgot is that we had started looking up the visa process and like all the bureaucratic stuff, and it was going to be just so much and so much money and a lot of effort. And we were like, you know, this is really far stretched. We were just like, I don't know if you know, we'll see. And when it gets there, but then something in us, we were like, why can't we make this happen sooner rather than later? And I remember before we sold our house, we had a meeting. We were like, maybe we can buy property. So we reached out to a realtor, and she's like, yeah, you can definitely buy property, but what I recommend is talk to this gentleman that I just sold a house to, him and his partner on, I think they live in Peak, the island in the Azores. Shout out Wayne if you're following us and you're still a friend, hi. And so we set up a meeting with him, and he gave us like just a rundown on his life, why they made the decision, everything. And he gave us such a great resource, and this is gonna be like a big tidbit, and I will probably link this in the show notes. It's called American and Friends PT, and I've made so many connects through it. It helped guide me throughout this entire process, but we joined that page, and that was the snowball for me. It was the thing that was like, I think we can make this happen. So we started loosely talking like, maybe we can make this happen sooner rather than later, right? Like, we'll just get visas and whatnot, you know, maybe in like 5 or 6 or so years. So that was that. And then we moved to Massachusetts. And
prior to moving to Massachusetts, we had gotten married.
Yeah.
Our honeymoon, we went to San Miguel.
We did. That's
we
right.
fell in love with San Miguel, where my dad is from. Fell in love with it. Stayed in Nordeste, went to Ponte Delgada, and everywhere in between, right?
Everything. And if I can be honest, I really miss San Miguel sometimes.
Me too,
It has such a special place in my heart.
So we fell in love with it. Then that point we were like, how can we move here? Originally we wanted to move to San Miguel, and that's when she was talking about, we reached out to somebody to possibly purchase property. And that's why Wayne was out of Pico, and we were looking at San Miguel, and that's why. So. The original was to move to San Miguel, but again, that's a different time.
And we just thought that it made sense for so many reasons. Like, choosing Portugal for us just made so much sense. Like, a lot of people ask us, why Portugal? Why Portugal? And I think the gist of it is like, why not Portugal when you're Portuguese, you have Portuguese history, you know, ancestry, the culture, the culture.
I speak the language
That's
somewhat.
a huge part. Somewhat. He speaks it fluently. It's a
most of
huge
the
part.
time people don't understand me. But you know what? Sometimes I don't
here.
even understand myself, so it works out perfectly.
Watch, when we go back to the Azores, it's not even a problem.
We're all gonna be like, hey, what's up? We all get each other.
Yep.
Right.
So, thanks. So it just made sense for us. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, there's no such thing as a silly question, but it's
I
a
got a
very
question
common
for you.
sense question.
Why did it make sense to you? And I know because, I came in by default to make Portugal, but were you happy? Did you mind that it was Portugal? Would you have preferred France or somewhere else?
It's a really fun question, actually. And I think you and I have talked about this before. For me, I wasn't super picky. I would have picked anywhere that I had an opportunity to. I mean, if I'm just being honest, right? Like I married, I applied to a job in Germany. I would have gone to Germany. I married a man who's Portuguese, and
you completely embraced the culture.
Yeah, like I feel like where I'm from in the United States, there is no culture. It's a very Southern culture, and I just don't fit in. And so this is something that like I was open to experiencing any and every new thing that I could. And when I met you, I remember you briefly mentioning, oh, I speak Portuguese. And I was like, what? What do you mean you speak Portuguese? First of all, I've never met someone who's Portuguese nor speaks it. I know where Portugal is, of course, but I never thought in a million years. And here we are. So Portugal just made sense for us.
It did. Actually, there was one guy in Virginia where we worked that was also from New Bedford.
But Brendan
Botello, if you're watching this, bro.
Hi, Brendan. Hi, Christy. I did not think, he never once mentioned where he was from or that his family is Portuguese or anything like that. So I never once thought. And then I remember before he left, I was like, you started, and he was gonna move back up north. And I remember being like, you two have to meet because you're from like the same area. And you both did, and that was really cool. And in fact, we still stay connected with them. So The Portuguese community, you guys know, and if you're new and you're not familiar, when you get into the Portuguese community, if you're born into it, if you marry into it, if you have family into it, whatever, the Portuguese community is such a close-knit thing. Like if you move to California and you meet one Portuguese person there, you guys are like this now because they're just so tight.
We can say that from straight up experience, like straight experience.
Yeah.
Once you meet somebody once and you guys like each other's vibe, you guys are like, hey, anything you need,
Yeah, okay, so that's why it all made sense. And now let's fast forward, right? So now we moved to Massachusetts. We're living with his parents, and
lot of paciencia, no, Morgan.
That's right. Huh? Okay, we don't even
whole new experience for Morgan. Constant.
I had a great time. I learned so much language with you guys. I got to watch RTP every single day on the news. Everything. I got to go to the Fall River Festa.
Hell yeah, that was fun.
The New Bedford Madeira Festa. I had such a. It was my first. So it was a few things. First time moving away, which really kind of like gave me this like, here's what it's going to be like to get out of your bubble, to get away from your family and everything you know, but not too far, right? Like we can still drive back, we can still fly back. I'm with your family who I already know and I'm comfortable with. And then it gave me an introduction to Portugal and the Portuguese community and just everything that came with that. So cool. I loved it. I still sometimes miss Fall River and everybody that's there. Would I move back? No, I'm gonna keep my happy butt right here. But I love Fall River. It holds a very special place in my heart.
Me
Just
too.
like San Miguel.
I was born and raised there. I love going back there as an adult, as who I am now. I can't wait to go back there.
Yeah.
With this community that we've built. I can't wait to.
Yeah, one day, guys, we'll be back.
Yeah,
don't worry,
totally,
we'll all hang out.
We'll go to Highland Pizza. We'll go to Market Basket. Barcelge.
Oh, everything. See, we're already daydreaming. Okay, so let's wrap this forward, right? Like, let's go forward. We moved to Massachusetts. We're living with Louie's parents, and here's where we're gonna give you a little teaser into the next episode. But we move in, and we're gonna take his mom on a cruise, and we're like, at this point, we're like, maybe we'll live here in Fall River for quite a few years. We'll try to find a house or something.
We even used Brendan Botello as our realtor because he moved back up north as a realtor.
Yep.
And that was our,
yeah.
We want to move to Portugal moment, but we don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So why don't we move up here and stay closer to my parents because they're getting older,
Yep.
So
in the meantime,
we were looking for a home and everything was just outrageously.
Oh yeah, okay, that's like a whole nother thing. Right. Yeah, so we're living in Massachusetts and we're like, maybe we'll live here. you know, and we're just living life in Massachusetts. We would take his mom to, we're like, let's go on a vacation. Your mom's never really gone on a vacation. Let's take her on a cruise. We'll go to Florida, we'll go on a cruise. So we go to the Portuguese consulate, and...
Now, mind you...
Go for it.
We're still, how are we going to move? How are we going to get to Portugal?
Yeah.
You know, there's a visa, there's that.
Yeah.
We don't qualify for any of those.
No.
How are we going to go there? How are we going to move there?
Yeah, so we go to the consulate and we're sitting there because we just need to get his mom's passport, her Portuguese passport, renewed. It expired, so we're just going to go get a new one before the cruise because obviously you need it. And we're sitting there, and this is our first experience at the consulate. And I remember at this point my Portuguese was like 0 or 1. I knew almost nothing. I could kind of understand, but not really. So I was.
You could count.
Yeah, I could count.
You could count the reps at the gym.
Yeah, but I was barely following along. Like I was like, I was letting them take care of business. And I remember Louie was like sitting across from me, and he was like, "Hey, honey." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "She just asked me if I want to be a Portuguese citizen," and I was like, he was like, "Do I want to do that?" I was like, I almost like wanted to be like, psh, 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 yes, because if you don't know, we know that being a citizen gets you access. Like that's it. That's like that's the golden ticket, right? Like that's the thing you need to to be able to come here and move here and live here and whatever, right? Like you guys get it. And I was like, yes, you do. Like how do we do that, right? Like what do we need to do at this point? We're thinking we need visas.
Yep.
And then what did she say?
She said, well, I'm going to need your mother's this, proof of that from her and your father. I'm going to need proof of you from this and that. And it's going to cost you this much. So I think we went there, the next week when we picked up my mother's passport. Yep. And I was like, here you go. And
she typed away on the computer?
Yep, she typed away, asked me a bunch of questions. Yep. I filled out some paperwork, paid the woman, and she said, just keep checking back. I asked, is there a tracking system? She says, no, just keep emailing me.
Yeah.
And we did.
And so now we're going to have to end it there, guys. Cliffhanger.
Yeah, because that, as you probably know, it wasn't instant,
Yep. But we don't want to give you any details yet. You can't. Exactly. You can't. No, you have to go to episode 2 for that. So we'll see you next week. Beijinhos.
Até logo.